You know, I want to start this conversation by saying something honest. You're tired, aren't you? Not just physically tired, but tired in the kind of way that sits deep inside your chest. Tired of worrying, tired of trying to make numbers stretch, tired of pretending everything is okay when it's not, tired of being the strong one all the time. You've spent so many nights lying awake, thinking about money, thinking about the bills that keep coming, thinking about medical costs that feel impossible, thinking about the future and wondering how you're supposed to face it when things already feel this heavy. And the truth is, it hurts. It hurts to be over 50 and still stressed about money. It hurts to realize that after decades of working, sacrificing, helping everyone else, you're still worried about whether you'll have enough to take care of yourself. You didn't picture life being like this. You didn't imagine counting every dollar at this age. You didn't imagine fearing the mailbox or avoiding phone calls because you're afraid it's another bill collector. You didn't imagine looking at your savings and feeling your stomach drop. And maybe the part that hurts the most is that you feel like you shouldn't be struggling, like you should have figured everything out by now, like everyone your age seems to be doing better, like you somehow missed a step that everyone else took. But listen, you didn't miss anything. You didn't fail. You're not late. You're not behind. You're living in a world that keeps getting more expensive, more demanding, and more unforgiving, especially for people who have already given so much. Life in America isn't kind to people over 50. Costs rise, wages don't. Savings shrink faster than expected. Healthcare becomes a luxury. And the older you get, the more invisible you feel, like the world expects you to survive on less, while everything around you costs more. And then there's the quiet part, the part no one talks about, the shame, the fear of telling your children you're struggling, the fear of becoming a burden, the fear of asking for help, the fear of facing the future alone. You carry all of that inside you, every day, every night, and you hide it so well that most people around you don't even know how much strength it takes just to get through the day. But I see it, I hear it, and right now, I want you to know that everything you're feeling is real, valid, human. You're not weak because you're worried. You're not broken because you're scared. You're not wrong for feeling overwhelmed. You're simply someone who has been strong for too long, with too little support in a world that expects too much. For the next hour, I'm here with you. Not to judge you, not to tell you what you should have done, but to sit beside you like a friend and talk through the fears you've been carrying alone. We're going to explore this together. Your worries, your hopes, your options, slowly, gently, one piece at a time. And by the time this hour ends, I want you to feel even a little bit lighter, a little bit calmer, a little bit more understood, because you deserve that. You deserve peace. You deserve rest. You deserve a future that feels possible again. And I'm here, right here, walking this with you. You know, when we talk about financial struggles, especially after the age of 50, we often talk about numbers, budgets, inflation, bills, savings. But the truth is, this isn't really about numbers at all. It's about everything you've lived through, everything you've carried, everything that has changed around you while you were doing your best to keep going. So let's talk honestly about why this happens. Why someone like you, someone who has worked for decades, someone who has sacrificed, someone who has always tried to do the right thing, can still find themselves struggling today. First, life simply became more expensive than anyone predicted. Not a little more expensive, dramatically more. Rent, property taxes, groceries, utilities, medications, insurance. It feels like every year the world adds another weight to your shoulders. The money that once covered everything now disappears in a blink, and that is not your fault. You didn't choose inflation. You didn't choose a system where the cost of survival grows faster than the income of ordinary people. If you feel like you're running a race where the finish line keeps moving farther away, it's because you are. Then there's the healthcare system. Getting older in America doesn't just mean more medical needs, it means more financial fear. A single appointment, single test, a single unexpected hospital visit. Any one of these can wipe out savings that took years to build. And even with insurance, the out-of-pocket costs can be overwhelming. You probably didn't expect this. You didn't expect to reach a point where you hesitate before filling a prescription, or where you have to choose between paying a medical bill and paying another basic expense. No one imagines that future, but many people end up living it. And then there's the silent truth that almost no one says out loud. You spent your life taking care of others, your children, your parents, your family. You helped people through hard times. You gave what you could, sometimes more than you could. You supported others emotionally, financially, physically. And because you are generous, you often put your own financial stability last. People rarely talk about how much this affects someone later in life, how much it drains, how much it shifts the path you thought you'd be on. And then there were the moments life hit you with things you never planned for. A layoff, a recession that erased your savings, a divorce that split your finances in half, a health issue that forced you to stop working earlier than you wanted, the loss of someone you depended on. These aren't signs of failure. They are the storms of life. And every storm leaves a mark. You survived them. But surviving always costs something. Let's talk about work too, because for many people over 50, the workplace quietly changed. Suddenly, experience wasn't valued the way it used to be. Suddenly, companies wanted fresh faces, new talent, younger energy. Not because those people were better, but because they were cheaper. And age discrimination, even when no one admits it, is very real. Imagine spending decades building skills, building knowledge, building reliability, only to be told, silently or directly, that you're no longer the first choice. It hurts. It chips away at confidence, and it pushes people into financial instability they never expected. And then let's talk about something deeper, something almost invisible, the emotional toll of aging in a society that rewards youth, the feeling of becoming less seen, less valued, less supported. People say, just save more, just invest, just budget better, as if the world is that simple. As if they know what it feels like to wake up at 50 or 60 and realize your safety net isn't as strong as you hoped. as if they understand what it's like to face shrinking job opportunities, rising costs, and medical needs all at the same time. They don't understand that financial stress after 50 hits differently, because it's not only about money, it's about identity, it's about dignity, it's about the fear of becoming dependent, it's about the fear of not having enough time left to recover from mistakes or misfortunes. It's about the fear that one bad month could change everything. And beyond all of that, there's grief, real grief. The grief of losing people you loved, the grief of watching your parents decline, the grief of losing your partner or friendships or health or routines. Grief makes it harder to plan, harder to think, harder to keep moving forward. And when grief mixes with financial fear, it becomes a weight that few people know how to carry. So when you put all of this together, the rising cost of living, the unstable job market, the health expenses, the family responsibilities, the emotional losses, the lack of support, the long-term exhaustion, how could anyone, not just you, avoid financial struggle? How could anyone feel fully prepared? How could anyone not feel overwhelmed? You're not in this situation because you failed. You're in this situation because you lived, because you gave, because you endured, because you kept going even when life kept throwing obstacles in your path. And that's why I want you to hear this clearly. You are not to blame. You are not alone, and your story is not over. Understanding why this happened isn't about dwelling in the past. It's about removing the shame that never belonged to you. It's about giving yourself permission to breathe again, to think clearly, to see possibilities instead of problems. You deserve that clarity. You deserve that compassion. And as we keep going, we're going to explore how you can rebuild, not with pressure, not with fear, but with gentleness, hope, and real options. We'll take it one step at a time. Do it together. You know, there are fears that people talk about openly, the ones that come up in casual conversations, the ones that feel acceptable to admit. And then there are the other fears, the fears that sit deep in the heart, the fears that stay unspoken, the fears that only rise late at night when the room is quiet and there's no one around to hear them except you and maybe a memory or a regret or a thought that won't let you sleep. If you're here right now listening to this, maybe you've carried some of those fears for years. Maybe you've never said them out loud. Maybe you've never even whispered them to yourself. Because sometimes admitting a fear makes it feel too real, too sharp, too heavy. But tonight, I want to talk about those fears with you gently, slowly, like two friends sitting together in the calm of the evening, finally letting the truth breathe. Not to make the fears bigger, but to let you know you're not alone in them, not even close. One of the biggest fears people over 50 carry is the fear of becoming a burden. It's a fear that wraps itself around so many thoughts, so many decisions, so many emotions. You've spent your whole life being strong, dependable, capable, the one who provided, the one who managed, the one who figured things out. And now, even the idea that you might need help feels uncomfortable. It feels frightening. It feels like losing a part of who you used to be. You don't want your children to worry about you. You don't want them to take time off work. You don't want them to feel responsible for your well-being. Even if they love you with all their heart, even if they would help without hesitation, you still don't want to place that weight on them. You imagine what would happen if your health declined, even a little, if walking became harder, if driving felt unsafe, if you needed help with basic things. And it's not the illness itself that scares you. It's the idea that someone else would have to rearrange their life because of you. That thought hurts more than anything happening to your body ever could. Another quiet fear is the fear of losing independence. Not just the independence of movement or physical ability, but the independence of choice. You fear a future where you can't make your own decisions, where someone else handles your money, your medication, your appointments, your home. You fear a moment when your voice might be ignored or doubted or overridden. The idea of losing autonomy, of no longer being the author of your own life, is a fear too big to easily admit. And then there's the fear of time. Not just the fear of aging, but the fear that time ahead might not bring joy. You're aware that the road behind you is longer than the road in front of you. And even though you've lived so much, loved so much, given so much, there is a fear that the future is no longer a place of possibility, but a place of decline. You don't fear dying as much as you fear the years before it, the slow fading of energy, the shrinking of your world, the quiet losses that accumulate. And speaking of loss, there's the fear that comes from loneliness, the kind no one sees, the kind you don't talk about. You've lost people along the way, parents, partners, friends, people who once held pieces of your life and pieces of your heart. And with each loss, your world became a little quieter, a little smaller. You fear being forgotten. You fear that as life moves on for others, you will remain on the outskirts, watching from a distance. Not because people don't love you, but because life pulls them in so many directions. You fear becoming invisible. You fear that your presence might matter less than it once did. And then there's a fear that almost everyone over 50 feels at some point. The fear of your mind slipping. You notice small things, forgetting a name, misplacing keys, losing track of a thought. And while these things happen to everyone at any age, they feel different now. They carry a shadow, a whisper. What if this is a sign? What if this is the beginning of something I can't stop? What if I slowly lose myself? It's not the embarrassment that scares you. It's the idea of losing your memories, your history, your identity. The idea that one day you might look in the mirror and not fully recognize the person staring back. There are few fears more quietly terrifying than that. Let's talk about another fear, the fear of financial instability. Even if you don't talk about it, even if you act like you're fine, even if you've convinced yourself you shouldn't complain, you fear running out of money. You fear unexpected expenses. You fear that the world is too expensive and your resources are too limited. You fear a future where your choices shrink, where your freedom depends on dollars, where every decision feels heavy because you don't know if you can afford a mistake. And maybe the hardest part, you fear having to ask for help. Not because you don't trust people, but because You don't want anyone to see your vulnerability. You're used to being the strong one, the capable one, the independent one. Asking for help feels like losing a part of your identity. There's also the fear of regret, not the loud, dramatic regret you see in movies, but the quiet regret that sits in the background of your mind, the what ifs, the maybe I should haves, the dreams you put aside for responsibilities, the chances you let pass because life was happening too fast. You fear that it might be too late to try again, too late to start something new, too late to become the person you once imagined you would be. But here's something important. These fears do not make you weak. They do not make you less. They do not mean you've failed. They mean you've lived. They mean you've cared. They mean you've loved deeply, sacrificed deeply, endured deeply. They mean you are human. And part of being human, especially as you get older, is recognizing how precious everything truly is. Your time, your relationships, your health, your memories, your sense of depth. You also fear losing purpose. When you were younger, you had structure, work, children, responsibilities, goals. You woke up each day knowing who needed you, what had to be done, where you fit in the world. But now, maybe the routines have changed. Maybe the house is quieter. Maybe the days aren't as predictable. And in that stillness, a quiet fear rises. What is my purpose now? Who am I if no one needs me the way they used to? It's not that you want to be busy. You just want to feel meaningful. You fear losing relevance, losing your place, losing the feeling of being important to someone, somewhere. There's also the fear of physical vulnerability, the fear that your body might not cooperate the way it once did. You fear falling. You fear an injury that could change everything. You fear waking up one morning and finding that something that was easy yesterday is suddenly difficult today. And perhaps the most hidden fear of all, you fear that no one truly understands you anymore, not because they don't care, but because they don't know what it feels like to carry decades of memories, decades of responsibility, decades of loss, decades of love. But I want you to hear this clearly. Everything you feel is valid. Everything you fear makes sense. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling any of this. You have spent a lifetime being strong. You have survived things you never thought you could. You have kept going even when the world felt heavy. And these fears, these quiet, hidden fears, do not mean your story is ending. They mean your heart is still open. They mean you are aware. They mean you are alive. You are not alone in any of this. Not tonight. Not while you're here with me. And not in the chapters ahead. Your fears do not define you, but acknowledging them, accepting them, and speaking them even quietly is the beginning of releasing their power. And I'm here with you as you take that first gentle step. You know, before we talk about fixing anything, before we talk about plans or strategies or decisions, we need to start with something much more important. We need to start with understanding, real understanding, gentle understanding, the kind that doesn't blame you, doesn't shame you, doesn't make you feel smaller than you already do. Because when you're over 50 and you feel overwhelmed by money, it's not just about numbers. It's about fear. It's about exhaustion. It's about years of trying, years of pushing, years of surviving. It's about all the things you've been carrying alone. So, in this part, I want to help you take the first step. Not a big step, not a scary step, just a beginning, a soft, honest beginning. This first level is all about reclaiming clarity, seeing the full picture of your financial life, not to judge it, not to criticize it, but simply to understand it. Because the truth is, fear grows in the dark. Fear becomes heavier when things feel vague, uncertain, blurry. But the moment you shine light on something, even a little, the fear starts to loosen its grip. So tonight, we're going to look at your financial picture together, not as an audit, not as a test, not as proof of whether you've done enough or failed, but as an act of kindness toward yourself, a way of saying, I deserve to understand my life. I deserve clarity. Let's begin with the most basic yet most powerful step, listing your essential expenses. Now, I know that for some people, this step can feel uncomfortable. It might remind you of times when money was tight, or times when you had to choose what to pay and what to delay. It might bring up memories of bills you avoided opening, or worries you pushed to the side because you didn't want to feel that pressure again. But I want you to do this with gentleness, with kindness, with the awareness that this is not a report card. This is a moment of truth, not a moment of judgment. Take a breath and mentally list your non-negotiable expenses. The things you absolutely must pay each month to keep your life stable and functioning. Typically, these fall into a few categories: your home, rent, or mortgage, utilities, electricity, water, gas, phone, internet, groceries, your basic food needs, transportation, gas, insurance, or public transit, insurance premiums, health, home, car, life, and if you're caring for someone else, maybe expenses related to them too. These basics form the foundation of your monthly life. Seeing them clearly helps you understand where your stability begins. Once you've listed those essential expenses, I want you to go one level deeper. We're going to categorize your spending into 3 simple groups: living expenses, medical expenses, debt obligations. These 3 categories tell the story of your financial life more clearly than any spreadsheet ever could. Living expenses are the things that keep your daily life going. Your home, your utilities, your food, your transportation. These are the costs that make life functional and comfortable. Medical expenses, those are different. They come with anxiety, unpredictability, and often pain. They remind you that your body is changing, that health care is expensive, that life is fragile. These costs can be monthly or occasional, predictable or random, small or painfully large. And then there are debts. Credit cards, loans, medical bills, past responsibilities that stayed with you longer than you expected. Debts carry shame for many people, especially those over 50. You might feel embarrassed, guilty, frustrated, but debt is not a moral failing. It's a part of modern life, and acknowledging it is the first step to loosening its power over you. Now, after listing these groups, we take the next gentle step, calculating your minimum survival cost, what I call your bare minimum cost of living. This is not the life you want. This is the life you must maintain. It's the minimum amount of money you need each month to survive safely, to stay housed, to stay nourished, to stay connected. This number is incredibly important because once you see it, you understand the difference between necessity and pressure. You understand what your foundation truly costs. And from there, everything becomes clearer. But here's something I want you to remember throughout this entire exercise. Do not judge yourself, not for 1 second. You are not adding up failures. You are not calculating mistakes. You're not counting regrets. You're simply seeing the truth, perhaps for the first time in a long time. And it's normal to feel emotions rise during this process: sadness, frustration, fear, even grief. Because sometimes clarity uncovers the parts of life we've been ignoring just to survive. If that happens, breathe, place your hand on your chest for a moment, and remind yourself, I deserve to understand my life. I deserve clarity. Now, once you've identified your essential expenses and calculated your minimum living cost, the next step is one that many people skip because it feels too painful: identifying your financial gaps. Your gap is the difference between what you need and what you currently have. It might be small. It might be large. It might fluctuate month to month. It might be something you've tried not to think about. But here is something many people don't realize. A gap is not a condemnation. It is simply a location, a starting point, a map showing where you are right now. And you cannot move toward a better place until you know where you're standing. Some gaps come from income that is too low. Some come from expenses that are too high. Some come from medical needs. Some come from helping family. Some come from life events that hit you harder than anyone expected. And none of these gaps say anything about your worth. They do not mean you failed. They do not mean you should have done better. They do not mean you're irresponsible. They simply mean you're human, living in a world that has become brutally expensive. When you identify your financial gaps, I want you to hold them with compassion, not fear, not shame, just compassion. Say to yourself, this is where I am. This is what life has given me, and from here I can begin. Because that's what this step is about. Beginning. Beginning again. Beginning gently. Beginning without guilt. Once you get this picture, your essential expenses, your categories of spending, your minimum survival cost, your financial gaps, you'll have something most people never give themselves: a clear, honest understanding of where they stand. And from here, everything becomes possible. Not easy, not instant, but possible. Because clarity creates space. Clarity lifts weight. Clarity frees your mind from the fog of fear. Clarity gives you permission to make decisions, not from panic, but from awareness. This part, this first level solution, is not about fixing everything. It's about opening your eyes gently to the truth of your life. It's about seeing without punishing yourself. It's about understanding without drowning in judgment. You don't need to solve everything tonight. You don't need to make every decision right now. You don't need to figure out the whole future. You just need to take this first step to see, to recognize, to understand, because when you understand your financial picture, truly understand it, you reclaim a piece of your power. You reclaim a piece of your voice. You reclaim a piece of your peace. And you deserve that peace. You deserve that clarity. You deserve a life where money doesn't feel like a shadow following you everywhere you go. So, tonight, start gently. List your essentials. Categorize your spending. Calculate your minimum cost of living. Recognize your financial gaps. And do it all with kindness. This is the beginning, not of fear, but of healing, not of judgment, but of truth, not of hopelessness, but of possibility. And I'm right here with you through every step of it. You know, once you've taken that first step, once you've looked at your finances with honesty and kindness, something begins to shift into you. Not everything becomes easy. Not everything becomes clear. But there's a little bit more light, a little more space to breathe, a little less fear whispering in the back of your mind. And now you're ready for the next step. Not a leap, not a drastic change, just a continuation of the journey we've already begun. A deeper look, a softer approach to restructuring your life in a way that gives you more room, emotionally, financially, mentally. In this part, we're going to talk about optimizing your costs and building a wider safety zone around your life. Think of it as strengthening the foundation you already started repairing in the previous step. You're not cutting back as punishment. You're not reducing expenses because you failed. You're simply adjusting your life so it supports you better, so you feel safer, more stable, and more in control. Because the truth is, financial safety isn't about being rich. It's about creating enough breathing room so that the next unexpected moment doesn't knock you off your feet. And you deserve that breathing room. Let's explore this step gently, piece by piece. 1. Reevaluating your necessary versus optional costs. You've already listed your essential expenses. Now we slowly expand that list outward and examine the next layer, the optional but routine costs. Things like subscriptions, streaming services, phone plan upgrades, gym memberships, comfort expenses, occasional dining out, convenience purchases, small habits that quietly add up. These aren't bad expenses. They're just pieces of your life that deserve a second look, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of asking, does this still serve me? Is this bringing me peace or adding pressure? Is this something I truly need, or is it something I've outgrown? You'd be surprised how many expenses stay in your life simply out of habit. Old subscriptions, services you don't use, extras you accepted years ago that don't fit your life anymore. This step isn't about removing joy. It's about removing noise, clearing space, creating calm. You get to keep what matters. You get to release what doesn't. 2. Choosing the version of your life that fits you now. One of the most liberating realizations after 50 is this. You're allowed to redesign your life to fit who you are today, not who you were 10 or 20 years ago. Maybe you don't need the same size home. Maybe you don't need the same number of gadgets. Maybe you don't need the same lifestyle routines you once worked so hard to maintain. People often suffer financially because they're trying to keep up with an old version of themselves, a version who had different responsibilities, different income, different energy, different priorities. You are allowed to live smaller. You're allowed to live simpler. You're allowed to reshape your lifestyle into something lighter, quieter, easier to carry. Downsizing isn't failure. It's strategy. It's wisdom. It's self-protection. It's creating a life that allows you to breathe deeper. 3. Reducing the emotional expenses. Sometimes costs aren't financial. They're emotional. Some purchases come from stress, loneliness, boredom, fear, or habit. There are emotional subscriptions, too. The fear of missing out, the pressure to keep up with others, the expectation to provide for everyone, the urge to reward yourself because life feels exhausting. We all have emotional expenses, but at this stage of life, emotional safety matters more than emotional spending. Ask yourself, when I buy this, what am I soothing? What feeling am I trying to fix? What do I hope this purchase will change? And then gently ask, is there another way to comfort myself that costs less, emotionally and financially? This isn't about denial. It's about empowerment. It's about recognizing patterns and giving yourself more options. 4. Negotiating your bills. Yes, you really can. People often think negotiations are for younger people or corporate settings. But the reality is, almost every recurring bill in your life is negotiable. Your phone plan, your internet, your cable, your insurance, your medical bills, your credit card interest, your loan terms. You'd be amazed how often companies lower costs simply because you ask. Start by saying something like, Hi, I'm reviewing my expenses and I need to reduce my monthly bill. What can you do for me? No shame, no apology, no fear. Remember, you are the customer. You have power. You deserve options. Even reducing a single bill by 10 or 20 per month creates long-term breathing room. This is not about cents. It's about dignity, about claiming the right to advocate for yourself. Thus, creating a financial safety pocket, even if it's small. Many people over 50 feel hopeless about saving money. They think it's too late. I don't make enough. I can't start now. But saving isn't about the amount. It's about the habit. It's about the message you send to yourself. My life deserves security. My future deserves protection. I deserve a cushion. Even $5 or 10 set aside each week or each month is a seed. A small, steady seed that grows into a feeling of safety. You don't build a safety zone by being rich. You build it by being consistent. The purpose of this safety pocket isn't big emergencies. It's emotional emergencies. It's for the moments when life surprises you. For the moments when you want to feel in control. No amount is too small. Every dollar is a vote for your future. Yes, freeing yourself from guilt debts. Many people over 50 carry guilt expenses, money they give not because they want to, but because they feel obligated. Helping adult children, supporting relatives, paying for things to keep the peace, covering costs for others because you don't want them to struggle. Your heart is generous. Your love is real. But part of this stage of life is recognizing you cannot pour from an empty cup. Your well-being matters too. Your security matters too. Your future matters too. You can still help others, but not at the cost of your own survival. Learning to say, I can't right now, is not selfish. It is responsible. It is loving. It is necessary. Your children would rather see you safe than see you sacrifice to the point of collapse. 7. Reducing the mental weight of money. Financial pressure after 50 isn't only in the wallet. It's in the constant calculating, the stress before going to sleep, the fear of the mail arriving, the dread of seeing a bill, the shame of avoiding bank statements. These thoughts weigh more than the expenses themselves. So part of this solution is emotional. Stop checking your money from a place of panic. Start checking from a place of understanding, as if you're helping a friend you care about. Speak to yourself gently. Let's just look. Let's just see. Let's understand what's here. This takes practice, but over time, money stops feeling like a threat and becomes something neutral, something you can manage, not something that controls you. 8. Creating a simplified life model. When life gets overwhelming, simplify. When money becomes stressful, simplify. When the future feels scary, simplify. You don't need a complicated life to live a meaningful one. You don't need dozens of obligations. You don't need to chase anything. A simplified life gives you more peace, more clarity, more emotional room, more stability. This might mean fewer subscriptions, fewer bills, fewer possessions, fewer commitments, fewer demands on your time and energy. You are not making your life smaller. You are making your life lighter, and lightness is a gift at this stage of life. 9. 10. Protecting your emotional energy while you change your financial life. Every financial decision comes with emotions: fear, shame, relief, denial, hope. You might feel all of them, sometimes in the same hour. So throughout this process, remind yourself, I am rebuilding, I am learning, I am doing the best I can. I am allowed to take small steps. This is not a race. This is not a competition. This is not about proving anything to anyone. It's about finding peace. It's about standing on your own 2 feet again. It's about reclaiming your sense of safety. And peace doesn't happen overnight, but it happens slowly, steadily, gently, one small adjustment at a time. 10. Once you begin, momentum will carry you forward. The hardest part is the beginning, but something beautiful happens once you start making small changes. Your confidence grows. Suddenly, the numbers don't look so frightening. Suddenly, the future doesn't look like a wall, but a hallway, a path you can walk. Suddenly, you feel a little less helpless, a little more grounded, a little more hopeful. Financial freedom at this stage of life isn't about wealth. It's about security. It's about peace. It's about not living in fear. And every small decision you make toward reducing expenses, simplifying life, and creating safety is a decision toward reclaiming your power. You deserve that power. You deserve stability. You deserve a future that feels possible, not threatening, and step by step, breath by breath. You are building that future. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not trapped. You are simply at a new chapter, and you are learning how to walk through it with wisdom, clarity, and courage. And I'm right here with you every step of the way. You know, at this stage of life, one of the most powerful decisions you can make isn't about earning more or pushing harder or stretching yourself thinner. It's about simplifying. It's about choosing peace. It's about building a life that fits your energy, your values, and your well-being. Not a life that overwhelms you, drains you, or pulls you in 10 different directions at once. Because after 50, you deserve a life that feels gentle. A life that doesn't suffocate you with financial pressure. A life that doesn't demand more than your body and heart can give. A life where you wake up and feel lighter, not heavier. And that's what this part is about. Designing a simpler lifestyle that protects your peace and reduces financial stress. Not by sacrificing joy, not by shrinking your world, but by removing the unnecessary weight that has been pressing on your chest for far too long. Let's walk through this step slowly and kindly. 1. Simplifying your spending, not your joy. People hear cut expenses and immediately fear the worst, as if it means living with less happiness, less comfort, less dignity. But simplifying isn't about suffering. It's about choosing intentionally. It's asking, what actually brings me comfort? What brings me stress? What do I buy because I truly want it? And what do I buy because I feel pressure, guilt, or impulse? You see, over a lifetime, we pick up spending habits without even noticing. A subscription here, a convenience purchase there, a brand we're used to paying extra for, even if we no longer care about it, a membership we haven't used in months. And slowly, without realizing it, our money gets scattered into dozens of little pockets, tiny leaks that add up to real stress. Simplifying means closing those leaks, removing the things that no longer serve you, keeping the things that genuinely bring you warmth, comfort, or ease. It's not a punishment. It's a liberation, a freeing of your mind, your finances, and your daily life. 2. Reducing debt without shame or panic. Debt is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry after age 50. Not because of the numbers, but because of the emotion tied to those numbers. Shame, guilt, regret, fear that there isn't enough time to recover, fear that it will follow you for the rest of your life. But debt does not define your worth. Debt is not a moral failure. Debt is not a life sentence. And one of the most powerful ways to simplify your life is to create a gentle, manageable plan to reduce your debt. Not aggressively, not painfully, not in a way that squeezes your joy, but in a way that slowly unties the knots around your chest. Start small. Choose one debt, the simplest one, the smallest one, or the one with the highest interest. Focus on that one, not all, just one. Each time you pay a little, you're not just reducing a number. You're reducing fear. You're reducing anxiety. You're reducing the emotional noise in your life. Debt is loud. Simplicity is quiet. And every step toward lowering debt is a step toward quiet, a step toward peace. To 3, prioritizing health, nutrition, and safety over everything. As you simplify your life, you begin to realize something important. Not all expenses are equal. Some expenses drain you, some stress you, some distract you. But there are a few that protect you, nourish you, keep you alive, keep you safe. And after 50, these 3 categories become sacred. Your health, your food, your safety. Other areas can be cut, adjusted, rearranged, reduced, But these three must be protected. Your medications, your checkups, your healthy groceries, your doctor visits, your vitamins, your home safety needs, your mobility needs. These are not optional. They are your foundation. Because if your health collapses, everything else collapses with it. If your nutrition declines, your energy and mood collapse too. If your safety is compromised, your mind cannot rest. So, as you simplify your spending, I want you to remember something deeply. Cut pressure, not health. Cut stress, not nourishment. Cut noise, not safety. Your well-being. Well-being is the most valuable asset you have. Protect it first. Everything else comes after. Step 4. Reducing stressful expenses. The hidden financial weight. There are expenses that cost money, and then there are expenses that cost peace. Some expenses create tension every time they appear. A bill that always arrives too high, a subscription you regret every month, a service you don't use but feel obligated to keep, a financial commitment that feels heavy every time you think about it. These are what I call stress expenses. And one of the best ways to simplify your life is to locate those stress expenses and start releasing them. Ask yourself, which bill makes me anxious every single month? Which expense makes me feel trapped? Which financial commitment drains my joy? Which part of my spending keeps my shoulders tense? Sometimes it's the phone plan. Sometimes it's the car payment. Sometimes it's a credit card. Sometimes it's an old lifestyle habit you no longer need. Letting go of these stress expenses is like removing rocks from your backpack. Suddenly, the climb feels easier, lighter, more manageable. You don't need to carry a weight that doesn't belong to you anymore. 5. Creating a peace fund, your personal buffer against fear. This part is important, maybe the most important. Once your spending is simplified and your emotional weight is lower, you create space to build something that will protect your heart. A peace fund, not an emergency fund. That phrase feels scary for many people. It sounds like disaster. It sounds like fear. A peace fund is different. It's gentle. It's emotional. It's symbolic. It tells you, I am not alone. I am protected. I have room to breathe. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to grow fast. It doesn't even have to be perfect. Even a small amount saved regularly, a few dollars a week, a tiny portion of your income, becomes a source of comfort. Every time you add to it, you send your future self a message. I care about you. I'm taking care of you. I am building safety for you. A peace fund doesn't erase fear, but it quiets it. It softens the edges. It gives you something to lean on when life feels shaky. And most importantly, it restores something you may have lost: hope. Six. Designing a life that matches your real energy. In the first half of life, We push hard. We chase, we hustle, we multitask, we take on everything because we think we're supposed to. But in this stage of life, you don't need intensity, you need alignment. And alignment comes from designing your lifestyle around your real energy, your real needs, your real values, your real priorities. Not society's expectations, not old habits, not guilt, not pressure. Maybe you don't need as many outings. Maybe you don't need as many commitments. Maybe you want more quiet afternoons, more simple meals, more slow mornings. Living simply doesn't mean living less. It means living true. It means removing the noise so you can hear your own needs again. It means taking care of your future by letting go of what no longer fits your present. Reset, releasing the emotional story that says, more is better. A big part of stress after 50 comes from outdated beliefs. I should live the way I used to. I should provide for everyone. I should keep the same lifestyle. I should hold on to everything. But maybe, just maybe, you don't have to. Maybe the next chapter of your life doesn't need more. Maybe it needs less pressure, less clutter, less responsibility, less spending, less boys. Your value has never been measured by how much you own, how much you buy, or how much you can afford. Your value is in your presence, your wisdom, your journey, your endurance, your love. Simplifying your life is not stepping backward. It is stepping inward, toward peace, toward calm, toward truth. 8. A simple life brings a quiet mind. Imagine waking up and feeling light. Imagine looking at your bills and not feeling fear. Imagine knowing exactly what you owe, exactly what you spend, and exactly what you truly need. Imagine a home with less clutter and more peace. Imagine a heart with fewer worries and more space. This is the gift of simplicity, not just financial simplicity, emotional simplicity. A simpler life doesn't mean your world shrinks. It means your anxiety shrinks. It means your burden shrinks. It means the constant background noise in your mind fades into silence. Simplicity is not deprivation. It is liberation. You're not losing anything. You are gaining room to breathe. 9. The courage to live softly. It takes courage to live simply. Courage to let go. Courage to release. Courage to choose peace over pressure. But you've already survived enough storms to know something important. Life is not meant to be lived in a constant state of stress. You're entering a chapter where you deserve softness. You deserve gentleness. You deserve a lifestyle that doesn't require you to fight every single day. And simplifying isn't about giving up. It's about choosing wisely. It's about protecting your heart, protecting your health, protecting your peace. 10. This chapter is yours to redesign. A simplified life is not the end of your freedom. It is the return of your freedom. A calmer home, a quieter bit, a smaller set of expenses, a lighter heart, a peace fund that grows slowly, quietly, steadily. This is not about living less. This is about living better. This is your chapter, your design, your chance to create a life that supports you, not a life that drains you. And I'm here with you, step by gentle step, as you make your life lighter, safer, and more peaceful than it has been in years. All right, let's sit down together for this part, because this chapter isn't about emotions anymore, and it's not about understanding the past. This part is about what you can actually do next, in real life, in a simple, gentle way, at your own pace. Think of this like a friend explaining things to you over a warm cup of coffee. No pressure, no judgment, no complicated financial language, just a clear path forward. There are 5 steps you can take. But instead of thinking of them as steps, think of them as small changes, small shifts that slowly help you rebuild your financial foundation. Let's talk about the first one. Step 1, writing down your spending softly and honestly. I want you to imagine this: a notebook or even a piece of paper, and you simply write down everything you spend for the next month. That's it. You don't have to change your habits yet. You don't have to cut anything. You don't even have to think deeply about it. You're simply watching your money move. Most people over 50 who are stressed about finances have one thing in common: they carry everything in their head. The bills, the debts, the groceries, the medication, the little spending, the emotional spending, the unexpected expenses. It's all floating around up there, and it becomes a fog. And fog creates fear. But when you write things down, something surprising happens. You start to see patterns. You see where your money actually goes. You notice things you forgot you were paying for. You see the small leaks that add up. You see which expenses give you peace and which ones drain your energy. This is not budgeting. This is awareness. This is clarity. This is turning on the light in a dark room, and I promise you, the moment you see things clearly, the fear gets quieter, because the unknown is always scarier than the truth. Step 2, letting yourself receive help that already exists for you. A lot of people at this stage of life think they must carry everything alone. They feel embarrassed to ask for help. They're afraid people will judge them. They feel like they're supposed to be the strong one, the one who never struggles. But here's something important. You've paid taxes your whole life. You've contributed to society for decades. You've helped others, whether you realize it or not. And now, when you're facing financial strain, there are programs that exist specifically to help people like you. This isn't charity. This isn't weakness. This is support you deserve. There are programs that help with food, programs that help with medication and doctor visits, programs that reduce electric bills or heating bills, programs that provide rental assistance or help stabilize housing. Some states even help reduce medical debt or erase it under certain conditions. You don't have to memorize their names right now. What matters is this: you are allowed to apply. You're allowed to accept help. You are allowed to make your life easier. Just imagine what it would feel like if even one of your biggest monthly burdens became lighter. Imagine if groceries suddenly cost half as much. Imagine if your medication was cheaper. Imagine if your electricity bill wasn't a monthly fear. Relief is real, and it is closer than you think. Please remember this: taking help doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It makes you safe, and it gives you space to breathe again. Step 3: reorganizing your life so your mind can breathe. When money becomes tight, life often becomes messy. Not because you're irresponsible, but because stress steals your energy. Bills get mixed up, receipts pile up, you forget which subscriptions you have. Things renew automatically, mail gets lost, documents end up scattered, and little by little, the chaos outside becomes chaos inside. So, in this step, I want you to do something that may sound simple, but it can change everything. Bring a little order back into your world. You can start by gathering all your financial papers in one single place. It can be a drawer, a box, or even a folder. Just one spot where everything lives, from insurance papers to medical bills to debt information to bank letters, all of it together. This alone reduces stress immediately because your brain no longer has to wonder, where is that document? It knows where it is. Next, look at your bank accounts. Most people have multiple accounts they don't even remember creating. Some have subscriptions they forgot about. They pay for apps they don't use, services they don't need, or memberships they don't even want anymore. Take a deep breath and slowly, gently clean that up. Cancel what you don't need. Remove auto renewals that don't support your life. Simplify everything. A simple financial life creates a calmer mind. And while you do this, maybe tidy up your home a little. Not to be perfect, but to create mental space. A clear table, a clear drawer, a clear corner goods. Each one tells your nervous system, you're safe. You're in control again. This isn't about being productive. This is about peace. Step 4: creating a small, light source of extra income. Now, I want to talk to you gently about income. Not in a stressful way, not go get a job or work harder. Absolutely not. At this stage of life, your body and your energy deserve kindness. You don't need to push yourself to exhaustion. What I'm talking about is something small, something light, something that adds a little cushion to your month, something that gives you confidence. That might be a simple remote job you can do from home, like answering emails, helping with customer chat, doing light data entry, or simple transcription work. These don't require heavy physical effort. They don't require long hours. They're gentle. Or maybe you have a spare room, a garage space, or a storage area you're not using, and renting it out could give you steady income without effort. Or maybe you have wisdom, real-life wisdom that younger people want. You could tutor, mentor, teach a skill, or guide someone through something you already know well. Or maybe something even simpler fits you. Watching someone's pets, sitting in someone's house while they travel, checking on a neighbor's home once a week, watering plants, small tasks that bring in money without draining your energy. Or maybe you simply sell things you no longer need. Furniture, tools, collectibles, things sitting around. The point is not to make more money. The point is to create breathing room, to create a feeling of stability, to feel like you are not drowning every month, to remind yourself that you can bring in income in ways that feel safe and manageable. Even an extra $100 or two each month can make everything feel lighter. You deserve a financial cushion, even a small one. Step 5. Protecting your mind, because your mind is the foundation of everything. And now, the final step, the one most people skip, but the one that changes everything. Your financial future is not built only on money. It is built on your state of mind. When your mind is overwhelmed, every bill feels bigger. When your mind is exhausted, every decision feels impossible. When your mind is lonely, every problem feels hopeless. When your mind is anxious, every purchase becomes emotional. So, I want you to take mental health seriously, not as a luxury, but as part of your financial plan. Take short walks, not for exercise, but for mental clarity. Let your brain breathe. Give yourself gentle evenings. No financial talk before bedtime. No worrying about bills when you're tired. Start your morning softly. A warm drink, a deep breath, a quiet moment to set the tone for the day. Talk to someone once a week. Human connection is medicine. Loneliness is poison. You don't need a large group, just one voice, one conversation, one person you trust. And please, please talk to yourself gently. You've survived too much to keep attacking yourself. You deserve warmth, even from the voice inside your own head. When your mind is calmer, your financial choices instantly improve. Your judgment becomes clearer. Your decisions become wiser. Your stress becomes manageable. Your life becomes lighter. Mental health is not separate from financial health. They are partners, friends, two sides of the same coin. Take care of your mind, and your money will follow, bringing it all together. So here we are, you sitting here listening, learning, trying, rebuilding, and me walking beside you through this chapter. 5 steps, just 5. Writing down what you spend to see clearly, letting yourself receive support to breathe again, reorganizing your life to regain control, creating a small income stream to feel safe, protecting your mental health to stay steady. You don't have to do them all today. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to rush. You just take one step at a time, one small change, one gentle action, and each little step moves you away from fear and closer to stability, closer to peace, closer to the life you deserve. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're not hopeless. You're rebuilding. You're learning. You're growing. And you're doing it with courage, even if you don't always feel brave. And listen, I'm proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you for not giving up. I'm proud of you for trying again. Let's keep going, step by step, breath by breath, into a future that feels safer, calmer, and more yours. Before we close this chapter, I want you to just sit back for a moment. Take one slow breath in and one slow breath out. Let your shoulders drop a little. Let your jaw loosen. Let your chest soften. Because this final part, is not about fixing anything. It's not about planning. It's not about effort or struggle. It's simply about letting yourself feel safe again. You've been carrying a lot, more than most people will ever understand. Some of the weight has been financial, but a lot of it has been emotional. Fear, shame, guilt, pressure, responsibility, loneliness, worry about the future, worry about the people you love, worry about yourself. You've been carrying all of this quietly, bravely, and for so long. So let this moment be different. Let this be a moment where you finally exhale, because you need to hear something today, and I want to say it slowly so it sinks in. You've done your best. Really, you have. Maybe life didn't go the way you hoped. Maybe things turned out harder than you imagined. Maybe you look back and see mistakes, regrets, lost opportunities, or times when you wish you had made different choices. But listen to me gently. You made every decision with the knowledge, the ability, the energy, and the circumstances you had at that time. You weren't careless. You weren't foolish. You weren't weak. You were human, and you did the best you could, and your best was enough. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it didn't protect you from everything. Maybe it didn't lead to the life you wanted. But it was what you had. And you gave what you had. You deserve compassion for that. You deserve understanding. You deserve forgiveness, especially from yourself. Now, I want you to hear something else. You are not alone. You're not the only one who has felt scared. You're not the only one who has struggled with money, with health, with uncertainty, with fear of aging. You're not the only one who has ever sat awake at night worrying about tomorrow. There are millions of people just like you. Kind, hardworking, giving, responsible people who hit a rough chapter in life. Life is not a straight line. It twists, it turns, it rises, it falls, and sometimes the fall is longer than expected. Sometimes the climb is harder than you thought it would be, but nothing about your struggle makes you broken. Nothing about your situation makes you inferior. Nothing about your challenges makes you less worthy. Let that truth rest in your chest for a moment. You are not walking this road alone, and there's something even deeper I want you to feel right now. Your life still has value, real value, in the way you speak, in the way you love, in the way you go, in the wisdom you've gathered, in the resilience you've earned, in the softness you carry, in the strength you've built through years of surviving. You matter more than you realize. Your story isn't over. Your presence still touches the world. There are still moments ahead of you, gentle moments, meaningful moments that will remind you why you're still here. And please hear this clearly. Money does not define you. Your worth is not a number. Your dignity is not tied to a bank account. Your identity is not your debt, your income, or your bills. You are not a financial mistake. You are not a burden. You are not a failure. You are a human being with a heart that feels deep-keepy, with a history full of triumphs and wounds, with years of love, care, and effort woven into your story. Your finances may need healing, yes, but you're not something that needs to be fixed. You are someone who deserves to be supported. You deserve safety. You deserve ease. You deserve mornings that begin softly, not with fear. You deserve nights that end peacefully, not with worry. You deserve a life that doesn't hurt to carry. And most of all, you deserve peace, not someday, not when everything is perfect, but now, in this moment, in the middle of everything, even with the unfinished parts, even with the uncertainties, even with the fears that still whisper in the back of your mind. Peace is not something you earn. It's something you allow. So let yourself rest for a moment. Let your heart unclench. Let the tension in your body soften. Let your breath slow down. You're safe here. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to simply be. And if no one has told you this lately, then let me be the one to say it. I'm proud of you. Proud of you for surviving. Proud of you for trying. Proud of you for listening to this, for opening your heart, for not giving up on yourself. You're stronger than you think, kinder than you realize, and more capable than your fear allows you to see. This chapter of your life may feel heavy, but heavy chapters often lead to gentler ones. So breathe, rest, and trust that you are moving slowly, softly toward a future that doesn't hurt as much. You've done enough for today. You've done enough for this moment. And right now, you deserve peace. Let it come to you. Let it settle inside you. Let it stay.